A new report out of Michigan has some pretty distressing information that the state is targeting kids as young as 6 years old with red flag orders in order to disarm their parents. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. The government using kids to try and disarm their parents isn't anything new, but using red flag laws to do it definitely is. Now, I've talked about the problems with red flag laws plenty of times. I've even done whole speeches about them at speaking events. But the short version is it robs people of due process and takes away their rights without ever charging or convicting the person of a crime. The laws are advertised as a way to help keep people safe from someone who might be a danger to themselves or others, but it is no gateway to mental health treatment, and many states don't provide an adequate avenue to fight it. In May 2023, Gretchen Whitmer signed a red flag law that went into effect in 2024. Like many other similar laws, it allows government officials, medical professionals, family members, and all kinds of people to petition a court to suspend someone's Second Amendment rights and confiscate their guns. The Detroit News has been running pieces on how the law is being implemented, noting that nearly 300 people had their guns confiscated in the first year of the law, nearly all of them on a, quote, emergency basis with no hearing. It's also been used 4 times to confiscate guns from Detroit police officers in the last year, 3 of them just this January. All of them involved the officer threatening to shoot or kill someone else. And in one case, the officer already had a history of threatening suicide and had received inpatient mental health treatment before, which is curious because that should then make them a federally prohibited person. And by the way, the Detroit police has refused to comment on the employment status of any of those officers. Now that is all shocking enough, but the Detroit News also found that the red flag law has been used against children as a vehicle to disarm their parents. Some of those kids as young as 6 and 8 years old. It turns out that the part of the law that allows the state to do this, as opposed to the laws in other states, is a feature and not a bug. Senator Mallory McMurrow, who had sponsored the bill, told the Detroit News that being able to confiscate guns from the parents, even though the order is in the child's name, was a purposeful decision. That aspect, particularly related to juveniles, was something we were very intentional about and sets Michigan's law apart from other states, she said. I don't think mental health issues or violence issues judge by age. Now, I'm not saying that we can't take threats seriously because clearly if a child is making a threat of violence, there is something going on in their lives to make that happen. But there's a big difference between a 6-year-old making a threat and a 60-year-old. Now, before I get into the details of these specific cases, this video is brought to you with the help of the Attorneys on Retainer program from the Attorneys for Freedom, a law firm dedicated solely to helping folks who have been in a self-defense incident. The folks in the Attorneys on Retainer program are actual attorneys whose entire job it is to give you legal advice and represent you if you use your gun in self-defense, and as part of their new program, they also help you out if you find yourself the victim of a red flag order. Now, they are not an insurance company, so you're not going to be sent to an insurance adjuster when you call, which means that you are not going through a middleman who decides whether or not to give you the services you've paid for. The only requirements are that you are a member and that in the self-defense cases, you reasonably acted in good faith. It doesn't matter if you were in a gun-free zone or even technically a prohibited person. They will work to defend you and make sure that you maintain your rights. So, to switch on over from your existing self-defense coverage, head on over to my link down in the description and you can use code LIBERTYDOLL to get $50 off your individual sign-up. Despite the juvenile red flag cases obviously involving minors, Detroit News was able to get some basic information from the state police. In the case of the 6-year-old, who was the youngest to be hit by an order, the child was allegedly experiencing a mental health crisis and disclosed to unnamed individuals who may or may not have been part of the school system that he had access to guns. An order was filed without hearing, and when the cops arrived to serve the parents and confiscate the family's guns, they found that the parents had already removed all of the guns from the home. However, the order was not canceled. A similar situation happened with a 10-year-old. Now, in this case, the child allegedly threatened to shoot another student, which is definitely not great, and said that he had access to his parents' guns, which he claimed were unsecured in the basement. Again, police went to the home and found that the child did not, in fact, have access to said guns. That order, at least, was canceled. But the police noted that, with the child being the one named on the orders and thus barred from owning or controlling guns, they would have removed any guns from the home, assuming the child would have been able to gain access to them in some way. In another instance, an 8-year-old boy made several threats, kicked a school resource officer, and made remarks that he wanted to kill himself or go live in the woods. When the police visited the home, they found that all of the parents' guns were locked up, but seized them anyway. In that case, the red flag order only lasted a few days, and the police noted that they would not file for an extension, but they did not say whether or not they would be returning the firearms. Now, in other states, it has been notoriously difficult to get them back, even after the order has expired. Some people wait years and still never get their firearms back. And in an interesting note, many of these same politicians who championed this law, who have said that we need it to keep guns out of the hands of the wrong people, out of the hands of children, to stop juvenile crime, to stop juvenile suicide and school shootings and all of this, have also petitioned to raise the age of criminal responsibility in the state from 17 to 18. Now, of course, correlation is not causation, etc., all that, but it's interesting. Just gonna put that out there. Now, if a kiddo is, again, making these kinds of threats or being groomed or coaxed into making these kinds of statements, which is a distinct possibility in some of these cases, the answer should be to see what's going on at home and the school and suggesting some mental health intervention of some kind, like a therapist, not necessarily barging in and taking the parent's property with no due process or direct avenue to get it back. Now, I did not do child therapy for very long, but in all the cases that I saw where a child was acting out in similar ways, they didn't have structure at home, there was childhood trauma, there was all kinds of other things going on that made them think that this was okay, and 9 times out of 10 it was a cry for help. Now, I'm not saying that that is the case in all of these cases because I have not worked with these children, I do not know these children, but it's just to reiterate that the answer is not just go to the parents' home and take their guns and say, okay, we did our job. Child safety and gun safety is huge, but in all of these incidents, it punished the parents, and there's no indication that the kids who made the threats got any help whatsoever beyond cops showing up at their door, which really is no help at all. I can't tell you what the answer is beyond a huge shift in society and culture, but violating rights definitely isn't it. While this way of doing things could stop some bad things from happening, it's also a huge violation that could very easily be abused. And we have seen, unfortunately, time and time again, where incidents happened that no red flag law stopped. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you are new here. Ring the notification bell so you will always know when the new videos drop. Drop a comment down below, and as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and happy shooting.